Hello, welcome to Zoonosis with Joy. I'm Joy, and today we're going to be talking about contagious forms of cancer. I hope you enjoy this video. Leave a comment below and tell me what you think about it. So, when we think of cancers, we often think of it as a disease of individuals, not a disease that spreads between organisms. We think of viruses, fungi, bacteria, prions, parasites. These are the kind of things we normally think of as contagious causes for disease. However, in certain rare cases, cancer can actually jump from one individual to another individual. This shouldn't be confused with viruses that actually can spread cancer between individuals, like human papillomavirus, bovine leukemia virus, feline leukemia virus. Those are, of course, a significant cause of disease, but what I'm talking about today is a cell, a cancerous tumor cell that spreads from one individual to another individual. As you can imagine, this means that there's probably been a big breakdown in the immune system. The immune system's job is to tell self from not self, and a tumor is decidedly not self. Most of the time, we have cells in our bodies that undergo mutations, and this can lead to potential cancers that the immune system will shoot down in the early stages and bring the cavalry in and kill on through inflammation and destroy the cells that are turning into cancer. Now, what happens in these cases is that there's some breakdown in the steps from recognition of self and non-self. The genes that determine self from non-self are called the major histocompatibility complex. They are surface proteins of the cell, and they tell the immune system, hey, I'm not an enemy, I'm a friend. And if the immune system recognizes this, that cell goes on living and doing what it's supposed to do. Now, in the cases where it's not self, the immune system will call in the cavalry, bring in inflammation, destroy that cell. What happens here is that there's some breakdown in that recognition. Either the surface proteins aren't recognized by the immune system, or it's just not expressed at all by the tumor cell. In human beings, it's extremely rare to get transmissible cancers, but they have been reported on occasions, typically in individuals where there's immunosuppression. So AIDS patients on immunosuppressive drugs, as well as fetuses that are in utero. There was one particularly unfortunate case of an individual with AIDS that ended up developing a tumor from a tapeworm that mutated inside of the person and developed a tumor. So it is rare, but it can happen in human beings. The major cases that we see are veterinary. They actually occur in dogs, Tasmanian devils, and bivalve molluscs. So let's talk a little bit about those. Let's start with dogs. Dogs get what's called the Canine Transmissible Venereal Tumour. It is a sexually transmitted form of cancer that spreads between dogs. So they often get it from mating, but they also get it from sniffing each other's butts, as dogs tend to do. So these show up as these kind of pale, large tumors, masses that grow on the face and the genitals. They're often ulcerated. They rarely metastasize to other parts of the body, but they can in some cases, so they can spread to the central nervous system and cause death. Most of the time, the immune system will eventually catch on and say, aha, you actually not self, we need to destroy you, and will actually cause that tumor to regress. However, this tumor is very good at spreading within a dog population, so its numbers don't completely diminish. What's interesting, there's a lot of things that are interesting about this, but one of the things is that it originated in the New World, actually from something that was very similar to an Alaskan Malamute thousands of years ago, and has since spread around the world. It's present in over 90 different countries, and in some countries is a major problem for dogs. It's been eradicated and eliminated from Canada, but it's still present in many other parts of the world. Of course, diagnosis means biopsy, so you have to biopsy the cells from it and bring that. It often looks like a round cell cancer, basically. And then it can actually be treated with a single chemotherapeutic drug called vincristine, which is, so it is a treatable form of cancer, basically. But it can cause major morbidity and even death in dogs. So that is canine transmissible venereal tumors in a nutshell. What about Tasmanian devils? Well, you may have heard this one in the news, but Tasmanian devils are a type of marsupial, and their numbers are declining rapidly due to a form of transmissible cancer. This is called a facial tumor, contagious tumor, basically, of Tasmanian devils. Tasmanian devils are marsupials, and they have a very low genetic diversity. It's believed by some researchers that they arose from as few as 2 individuals who are probably siblings that mated and established a population on Tasmania. So they have a low genetic diversity, meaning that they, you and I, if we're two Tasmanian devils, we're probably very closely related. This is the inbreeding thing I like to go on about, but there you go. So the Tasmanian devils spread cancer to one another. They do it by face biting. This is how Tasmanian devils say I love you, is by biting each other's face, which is kind of kinky, but this is what they often do during mating and during fighting, that kind of thing. Unfortunately for this type of cancer, since it spreads on the face and these animals are very low genetic diversity, it's often fatal and will metastasize to other organs. In fact, the vast majority of Tasmanian devils over the age of 3 have actually died from this disease, and most Tasmanian devils die within 6 months of contracting the tumors in the first place. They've been trying to find a way to prevent this from wiping out the entire species of Tasmanian devils. The best solution they've come up with so far is keeping the populations isolated on little sanctuary islands around Tasmania. They've been talking about producing a vaccine for the last 20 or so years, but they haven't gotten anywhere as far as I can tell. That probably would be the ultimate way of trying to get this around, but I don't think anyone's ever really successfully made a kind of vaccine for this form of cancer. So it's going to be tricky, but that is one of those big things that's causing major problems for this population. The final one I wanted to talk about today is a form of transmissible cancer in bivalves. Now, molluscs are invertebrates, and as invertebrates, they tend to have very poor immune systems. They don't have the adaptive immune systems that us mammals have. We've got that advantage. I talked about that in my last video, actually. But bivalve molluscs tend to poorly recognize self from not self, which means that they can get these cancerous cells that spread through the water to other types of bivalve mollusks. And this isn't just one species of bivalve mollusks. They found it in at least 4, and a couple of separate lineages within those. So they can transmit from mussels to clams, and clams to cockles, and it can cause these major outbreaks between different species. In fact, has led to mass die-offs near Vancouver Island. So these forms of transmissible cancer basically will spread through the water column and destroy entire populations of bivalve mollusks. Aren't you glad for your immune system that it can stop most of these things before it gets anywhere? Most of the time, that's the first line of defense against these cancers, is having a functioning immune system. So be thankful for that if you have it. That's all I had for today, a short video, and I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Peace.